recorded data is there later on. So okay. So the start. So hello everybody. I believe everyone is able to hear me. So as you know, servers are an old story. How about building it serverless? This is a quote obviously given by Nilosima, but says a lot. So now obviously with the time we have gone up with this working with serverless. There are tools, there are expansion on the cloud which goes beyond servers, where you can do everything with the serverless application. You can build application, you can write your code on the fly, you can deploy your code on the fly, you can do a lot many things. So this session is specifically meant for people who want to understand more around serverless. This session is a free certificate. You can watch it live on our streaming pages, on our different pages. And for content and document which is there, and for level 2 certificate, you can do it on the same page. We'll show you how. So about multi-cloud for you, many of you know that we are a evangelist platform and we are evolving platform. We run multiple events. They are paid, they are free, and there are different kind of events that comes up. Companies, we partnership with companies, organization, institutions, to give you the best out of the industry and to keep you updated on different topics and technology, and try to give you a width around the whole system. And when it comes to depth, obviously we have expert trainer, speaker, directly Microsoft trainer, Microsoft certified trainer, Alibaba Cloud certified trainer, and the multiple cloud platform specialists, evangelists, and expert to give you in-depth training around specific subject. And we have already come up with multiple training. They are already going on successfully, and there are much more coming up. Just stay tuned on our platform, which is fifthir.com. This session is Zero to Hero in serverless, and this will be given by Nilosima Srivastava. So Nilosima is a Microsoft certified trainer. She is a Microsoft technology. She is a well-known industry speaker. She has been giving a lot of speeches on multiple platforms. She is a CSAP Corner MVP also, and she's also the Gurgaon chapter lead for CSAP Corners. In the back, she has worked with Morgan Stanley, Philips, RBS, Fiserv, and more. And I would say she's expert, and she's a GM in her own field. Let's hear from her right away. I will not take much time. And obviously with this certificate and many of her certificate, we give a monthly voucher when you share the certificate on your different social channel. You complete the session, hear the voucher announcement from the speaker. The speaker will give you a speaker code. Claim your e-certificate on fifthir.com, share it to community, and then there's a lottery, there's a team who actually grants you voucher monthly from Alibaba Cloud. This is just an example based on the available voucher we provided to you, and also from different other cloud platform, and even we'll also be providing voucher from our platform. There are multiple courses that are coming up. You can take the certificate directly now from your page. You don't need to go to fifthir.com even. There is a link. You can directly go there and you can take the certificate directly. I will show you the demo once the session finishes. How do you take the certificate now? Obviously, in the old way, you can also take the certificate, but there's a newer way to and a better way to take it, where you completely get involved with the platform, and all your past session certificate are slowly being made live. So you will be able to see all on your single dashboard. We are coming up with a job option on the platform, where if you do a lot of certification in a specific area, our system will automatically assign you a job. If you are interested in a freelance kind of work, that may go live around December or January. We have always have call for speakers, and the speaker can be like we are open for a speaker who are going to give free sessions and who can also build courses for us. They can directly go to fifthir.com event portal, speaker sign up, or directly they can go to the create event, create their event, and then it will go through our approval, analysis, review, and then that will make it live. Audience, so these are the basic instruction for the session. Audience will be on mute for the convenience of everyone. All questions will be answered at the end of the session during the Q&A, but Nilosima may ask the question in the middle and she will be giving up. She will be giving you the option to, and she will try to reply on those questions. And you can, in the meanwhile, you can keep on asking it in the WebEx chat window, or on if you're live on the stream. We will be collecting questions from different stream and we'll be passing to the Nilosima. So over to Nilosima. Yep, Nilosima.
Well, hello everyone. How are you doing? I hope everyone is doing good. So let me share my screen and you tell me that whether you are able to see it or not. I hope that
Yes.
it must be visible. Thank you so much. Okay. So guys, this is what we will cover today. We'll try and understand what are functions as a service, what is you know, uh, serverless application platforms, what are the cloud serverless offerings. We'll touch base on Azure Functions, AWS Lambda, and then if time permits, I'm gonna give you demo for both of them. So let's just start right away. So I hope that we all know what are servers. We all know what are containers. So serverless is a step further from all these jargons, virtual machines, containers on the cloud. So this is if you are attending this course and you have a basic idea of virtual machines, cloud, containers. So this is something which is basically going to be a next step for you. Having said that, let's just try and understand what is function as a service, right? So what does it give us? This is function as a service. This is the whole pictorial representation of how we have evolved from infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and now we are calling it function as a service, which is nothing but serverless, right? So function as a service is a serverless way to execute modular pieces of code on the edge. This FAS lets developer write and update a piece of code on the fly, which can be executed in response to an event, such as user clicking on an element in a web application. This is a very simple analogy, very canonical example where you can see that you are expecting something to happen when you do something, when you trigger something. So here I want to talk about of the platform, not an individual service, but a collection of fully managed services that come together and allow you to build serverless applications. So when we talk about serverless, the first thing that obviously comes, to mind is function as a service. Basically, it gives you the ability to execute custom code on demand without having to worry about where your code is executing or how it would scale if the demand goes up. So just to reiterate the whole thing, what I have just said, that you have your code, you have your custom code, and you don't want to be concerned uh, about the underlying infrastructure. You don't want to be concerned about how you're going to scale it. You are simply concerned about developing the functionality, right? You don't want to be you don't want to get into the fuss of okay, should I run it on a virtual machine, should I run it in a container, so on and so forth. So this whole FAS give you this flexibility. You can write your code, you can update your code, and it will be executed when something happened, and that something is basically an event. Then something can be a trigger, right? So now serverless means no server, or worry less about server. I would say that people get confused here that, okay, since we are saying it as a serverless, I mean, do we actually have any server underlying on it, or we are just not simply worrying about, okay, we are not supposed to manage these servers. So the answer to this question is basically you are going to worry less about the server. You are you will be running your code only on demand and on per request basis. So what you are going to do, you will deploy your code, and then when something happens in your application or in your in something like which you have something like an HTTP trigger, something like, a circuit breaker. When something happens, that's when your code is getting executed. And you are, in most of the cloud provider, you are being charged in, in a consumption based model. You are not being charged for, something like where you have created basically, a 10 gigabytes of virtual machine, with like 120 GB RAMs, and then you are, irrespective of whether you are not consuming that particular virtual machine, you are definitely going to pay. That is what pay as you go means, because you have asked the cloud provider to give you that portion of that particular bare metal, and you are consuming it irrespective of whether you are not running any workload on or on top of it. So that is something, costing is something which is basically reduced when you are talking about serverless deployment and operation model. It means that there are actually no servers for you to manage, just your code. So this is, serverless is basically a cloud native platform for short running, stateless computation and event driven application, which scales up and down instantly and automatically, and charges for the actual usage at millisecond granularity. So that is something which I would like to emphasize here, that it charges you for that actual usage. I mean, how many minutes or how many nanoseconds, milliseconds your execution was happening. So you are going to pay in, in the granularity of milliseconds. So that is what about, that is what intriguing about serverless. Now, why serverless is attractive? You are, when you are on your, if you see this table, you see here that when you are on your premises, your timing to, provision resources, infrastructure take weeks to month. Your VM gets started in minutes. Your containers may take seconds to minute, and serverless is like quick, whether, as compared to all these, constraint or all these resources type or all these infrastructure type. Your utilization is in on-prem is generally low. Your VMs are highly utilized and your containers are highest. But when it comes to serverless, your utilization is actually way more higher than containers. Now, as I have mentioned earlier as well, that they charge you in terms of, serverless basically is being charged in terms of milliseconds granularity. So charging granularity of on-premises infrastructure is all about your capital expenses. VMs are being charged in terms of hours. How many hours are you consuming them? Containers are being charged in terms of minutes. How many minutes are you, that particular container is up and running. But serverless is basically charged in blocks of milliseconds. So you are, you are only focused on making your application and operations dramatically faster. It is going to be cheaper. It is going to be easier for anyone to maintain your, and another motivation or another trigger for choosing serverless could be your infrastructure cost saving. Another key reason which I would like to highlight here is that why serverless is being attractive is because it gives you the usage of other provider services like logging, services like data analytics, AI related services, speech, inferencing, or something like vendor lock-in. All these things are provided in each of the cloud provider section. I mean, if you are into Azure space, you know that we have functions there. If you are into Lambda space, I mean, we have Lambda functions there, and we have even Google Cloud functions for GCP. These are, a couple of key factors for your, infrastructure cost saving. So if you look here, we have a traditional model where we have, containers, VMs, and we have a serverless model. So if you are looking for high availability, you can see that you don't need to fixate on a lot of cost in terms of whether we are incrementing the infrastructure. If you are looking for multiple region deployment, serverless is giving us a capability where you don't need to look into that. You are not going to be in charge for that. And what is basically the if we are supposed to calculating the cost of the increments, right? So you can see that if you are running two instances in two regions within multiple availability zones, so we can just see that this is basically going to be give you, like, you are ending up paying 8 times, and for serverless it's just whatever you are using, pay for it and be gone. Having said that, let's move into what are the cloud serverless offerings. So for Azure, we have Azure Functions. For in AWS space, we have AWS Lambda. In Google space, we have Google Cloud Function. I'll try to give you a demo for a detailed demo on Azure Functions, and then a very quick demo for AWS Lambda today, if the time permits. So this is something which I would like to cover here. Is this right? This is we had discussed about the what is serverless and what are the offerings, but let's just, this is basically the application platform components in the Azure space, right? If you'll see that we have logic apps. This service was actually introduced before functions, and I want to talk about why this service is important and an important part of the serverless story. Imagine you are drawing a flow chart that represents a certain process in your business. For example, when a new customer record is created in let's say my CRM system, go ahead and create a project in my project management system, and then send a notification email to these 3 people, right? So we need to have processes like these all the time. What if you could just convert these flowcharts within a few clicks of your mouse into a real application that actually do these things? Something like a record is created, a project is created, and then notification has been sent. So Azure Logic Apps effectively does that for you. Through a visual design experience, you can create workflows that could have multiple steps, and each steps could be performed by a different first party or a third party service, or even an Azure function that you might have written. And it goes without saying that you don't have to worry about where all of this processing is happening, whether it is a server, whether it is a VM, whether it is a container, or maybe whatever else. So you can focus only on the what, not the how, right? And in a way, this experience is not only serverless, but from a user perspective, it is often codeless. Let's just talk about, let's just try and understand what is basically an event grid here. So event grid is basically the latest entry in this Microsoft Azure's serverless toolkit, and it is fairly a new services. So it is basically generally, it is in general availability now. You can go ahead and see. So if you think about it, in many ways, the popularity of these instant scale pay as you go compute services can be attributed to the fact that modern computing is all about events, and these event needs to be responded to, whether it is an IoT device sending signals to a central location, something like if I have a transport management system, and my trucks have some GPS location, and which is GPS tracker in it, and it is connected to an IoT device, and I as an I have a tracking management system, and I am basically tracking my each and every truck which has this IoT device. So whether it is an IoT device which is sending signals to a centralized location, or users performing some action on their mobile apps, or even some system, communicating with each other, all of these examples of event-driven scenario in which there are certain events that needs to be processed. So, but how do we manage all these events? This is where Event Grid comes into the picture. The service makes it super easy by providing a single simple interface for managing all your events. Things like something like where these events are coming from, whether it is a storage change, a database change, a resource being provisioned, or a new user being added to your subscription, and probably where these events are headed to. So whether something like whether you need to invoke an Azure function or an Azure Logic app to respond to this event, even some other destination. So I believe that for modern applications, for modern apps, an event is an important enough entity that we should make it first class citizen of any cloud platform, and take away that burden of managing that event in either producers or consumers of these events. So this is what Event Grid does for you. Okay, now we know we'll talk about function in detail, but now we know that we have the basic building block of serverless computing. What do you want to do next? You would like to build applications, right? And an application don't exist in vacuum. They talk to the databases. They enable authentication for the users. If it is an IoT app, it potentially receives data from and sends to IoT services. Maybe they need to process that data to prepare it in for further analysis. And more application these days are required to have some or the other kind of intelligence in that particular system. So how do we achieve these things in our app? So it wouldn't be it wouldn't be fun if our application code was running in serverless environment, but we still had to manage an army of virtual machine to perform these tasks. So we need serverless services for serverless application, and this is what the cloud provider provides you in when we are talking about Azure. We have Cosmos DB, which is a globally distributed elastic scales, and that is basically a perfect ally for your serverless app. You have Active Directory in Azure. We have IAM in AWS space, which basically you use for your security and access control needs. We have IoT hubs here, even IoT hubs there as well in your AWS space, which basically solves your IoT related need. We have services like hubs and stream analytics to ingest and analyze real-time streaming data. And of course we have intelligence, where artificial intelligence comes into the picture to provide intelligence in your apps. So all of these services together comprise the serverless application platform. In this case, this is for Azure, and using these pieces you can compose your application. So for serverless app, we have full-fledged Microsoft basically provide a full-fledged end-to-end development experience, which they have tools like Visual Studio Code, and in fact they support unique features like ability to build, test, and debug your application locally on your development machine before even deploying to the cloud. And this is a massive productivity boost while building cloud apps, and something no other cloud vendor can match, because this whole diagram is all about what Azure is offering in terms of serverless. And as you can see, end to end everything, we have Event Grid, we have Logic Apps, we have functions, we have the underlying infrastructure, we have the underlying related services in association with this platform. And there is like IDE support, there is integrated DevOps, you can have a local development and deployment, you can monitor your applications. So what is basically going on here? There are this whole development table, this support unique features like ability to build, test, debug your application. It gives you the productivity boost, where while building your cloud apps there, and these technologies support CI/CD so that you can integrate them in your existing deployment pipelines. And finally, this whole this whole package gives you full monitoring support. And for monitoring, we have tools in Azure like application insights, Azure Monitor, which we can use in terms of monitoring the application when it comes to serverless, monitoring the health of the application. Now, let's just see what are functions. So we already saw function. We already discussed that, right? That Azure functions or functions per se basically provide an experience of responding to the events through code that in turn processes data that could be coming from or headed to any number of services. Some of the key highlights here are basically, it gives you the ability to build, test, and debug your function code locally on your own machine. And this is not specific to Azure. This is, this is just, this will give you the whole picture here, where you know all these features, all these features are provided by each and every cloud. Even you can write your own function in .NET Core and use AWS Lambda to deploy it. So that can also be done. I'm going to share you a couple of links post this post this discussion, so that you can just go ahead and just just explore what is basically happening in that space. So the key highlights here are: it gives you the ability to build, test, and debug your function. You can write your code locally on your own machine before your code is even deployed. And that is what we will do today. And this will give you a massive productivity benefit while building your cloud application, and something Azure provides through rich, integration with the tools developer class. I'm a .NET person, so that is why I am more stuck on Visual Studio, Azure, and so on and so forth. But you can pretty much write your own function in any language, Python, Java, and use any cloud provider for leveraging the serverless, right? Apart from it, these functions basically, they give you unique features like triggers, bindings that make it super easy to set up event-driven architecture and simplify communication with data sources. And it supports a number of programming languages. So we'll see an example using C#, but it also supports Node.js, F#, Python, and even Bash command, so that you can pick the language of your choice and write serverless function with. Lastly, functions support the concept such as continuous deployment, which makes it super easy to integrate them into your existing DevOps pipeline. So that is what function does for you. In short, functions are the unit of work. Functions are executed, they start and they finish. Third, function have triggers. Fourth, function can have inputs and outputs, right? So this is basically a more specific slide, which I would like to to show you what we have discussed earlier in the previous slide, that what are functions, right? You have a code, we can write functions in any language of your choice. We have events associated, events like you can create a scheduler, you can have an HTTP trigger or something like that. You have a cloud storage, and let's say a file landed there, and as soon as that particular file landed, you would want your function to get executed, right? Something like that. You can do pretty much all of these actions with the help of functions. And you can get you can save the outputs in your in your table storage, in your storage account, in your, or probably you can propagate that particular output in you by using a queue, service bus, something like that. So that is all about functions. And functions are nothing more than this. This is what functions are. They have events, they execute code and gives you output, right? Now, what are AWS Lambda functions? You, like I mentioned in in my previous slide, that you are simply going to provide code, functions code to Lambda. Lambda execute that particular code on demand, and you don't know how or where that particular code is executed. You are not managing any server or any virtual machine. So in short, Lambda is code, your dependencies, which are libraries, modules, and binaries, and your configuration related file. Now, before moving ahead, I would like to pause here and give you maybe 10 seconds, 5 seconds, or a minute to think. And I would want someone from the audience to just write through in the chat window and let me know where give me a scenario where you would use serverless, and let's talk about a scenario where you wouldn't want to use serverless, something like when to use serverless or when to use normal infrastructure related stuff. I will be opening the chat window here, and I'm waiting for anyone to reply. So I'll just and I'm waiting here. Okay. So I'll just the question here is that what is serverless good for, right? Wow, Atul says language conversion. Okay. Anyone else? So you're saying that you will use serverless for language conversion sort of stuff, and you will use normal server where long process needs to be done. Absolutely correct. Abhishek says that we can execute. Wow, that's perfect. That is perfect. We are and we will talk about this in the next slide, right? We can orchestrate the functions if we have any API based requests, or rather than I would say any microservices based. If you are running a microservice based architecture. Rachit said that start processing image for the text when it lands on S3. Yes, this is a good example, and store the text in the database. Yes, that's when that's what you can achieve with serverless, and that is what this is basically a very short running application, right? Of course, we can use Kida on AKS. We can run functions, microservices. Perfect. Thank you so much, guys. So let me move ahead, and I'll show you the next slide where we are covering all these all this related stuff. What is serverless good for? So serverless is good for short running, stateless, and event driven programming model. Event driven application development. If you are running on microservices, something where small chunk of code is written, and you would want them to be chained or maybe fanned in, fanned out, that's where you're going to use serverless, right? If you are into mobile backends, that is a good example of serverless. Someone said someone shared that if you have something like FTP related stuff, that a file landed and then you're going to perform some action when that particular file is landed, that is where we can use serverless. You can use bots for serverless. We can do ML inferencing on serverless. We can use serverless. We can leverage serverless in IoTs, and this is in IoT serverless are vastly used. We can yes, we can do stream processing there. We can have service integration when it comes to leveraging serverless. Now, if you can see here on the other side, serverless is genuinely not good for if we have stateful application, if we are looking for number crunching, or if we have something which is like long running. So if we are interacting with databases, no, serverless is a big no. If we are running, trying to train the DL models, big no there, because they take a lot of time if we are doing stream analytics. So no, that is again a big no. If we are doing numerical simulations, video streaming, we are not going to leverage serverless in such scenarios, because so having said that, how you are going to, decide. Let's say if I have a shopping website, right? And uh, assuming that we are writing it like today, and we are writing it in microservices, patterns, using microservices patterns and practices. So you can definitely go ahead and leverage, using this example, you can definitely go ahead and leverage couple of modules, couple of small APIs on, leverage serverless there, and probably use function chaining. You can use, fan in, fan out, these sort of, patterns which serverless basically offers you. So I will quickly name few platforms for serverless, and then we will touch base more conceptual related stuff, and then we'll move ahead with the demo, right? So these are basically the current platforms which provide serverless execution. We have Open Lambda, we have Fission, we have Google Function, we have Red Hat functions, then OpenWhisk, IBM Cloud Functions, and Azure Functions is definitely there. So, just to give you an idea, what are we talking about? We are saying that what triggers the code execution. So, like I said, that serverless runs the code in response to the events, right? So we are basically talking about the event-based programming model. We are talking about the PubSub-based programming model. Let me quickly give you, a couple of do's and don'ts, or probably a couple of features, right? So, if we use Google Functions, if we use Lambda functions, we are basically allowing the application to be developed in serverless umbrella, right? We have multiple choice of languages. We are basically consumption paying in, only for the time which we have spent running on the code. What we are doing, we are basically bringing our own dependencies, these functions, they support NuGet packages, npms, and by giving you access to your favorite libraries, it gives you integrated security. You are basically protecting the HTTP triggered function with OAuth providers such as AD, Facebook, Google, Twitter, Microsoft account. It gives you a very simplified integration. You can easily integrate it with other services and maybe SaaS offering or a PaaS offering, right? It has the flexible development and flexible deployment. We can set up continuous integration and continuous deployment. You can do it in GitHub, and there are and leverage Azure DevOps, and there are a couple of more development tools which are supported in terms of leveraging functions, right? Leveraging serverless. We can also have stateful serverless architecture, and we can orchestrate serverless application with the help of durable function. Durable functions are something which you will basically durable functions gives you the idea where you can have the state, right? It is basically an extension of functions in Azure space, and it lets you write stateful functions in serverless compute environment. So this extension lets you define stateful workflows by writing orchestrator function. You can write stateful entities by writing entity functions. So using functions programming model, right? So that is there. So behind the scene, this particular extension, durable function extension, it basically manages states, it basically manages checkpoints, it restart for you, allowing you to focus on your building, building your business logic. So we were talking about the the features of. Now let's just try and understand that how do you calculate the costing of the functions in the Azure space, right? So we have consumption based plan, which which gives you all the necessary computational resource. You don't have to worry about the resource management, and you are basically paying for the time that your code runs. Then we have premium plans and app services plan. These are basically more of a rich plans where you under app service plan you run your function like web apps. So that is there. In a premium plan, you specify a number of pre-warmed instances that are always online and ready to immediately respond. So when your function runs, Azure basically provides any additional computational resources that are needed. And you are simply paying for the pre-warmed instances that are running continuously. And any additional instances you use as your app scales up or down or in or out, right? So that is there. Okay, so let's just let's just try and create Azure function in Visual, using Visual Studio, and we will see how to deploy it, leverage it, right? So this is my Visual Studio. What I'm going to do, I will simply create a new project, and let's just clear the filters and type function. So it gives you a template to create Azure function project. I'm going to quickly say next. Test function app. And I'll click on create. It will create the application. So we are simply going to, configure a couple of details, right? So, okay. So here you can just see that we have a couple of templates. We have this empty template. Then these are basically the triggers which you would like to implement. This will give you the idea where what will happen when your function is basically going to execute, right? So sorry, this is this gives you this function template. Basically this is basically our templates. So this gives you the idea that, and if I go ahead, I mean it gives you the pre-designed pre-written template, and that will make your life a little bit easier. So if I go ahead and select HTTP triggers, it will basically create a function which is triggered by an HTTP request, right? This storage account is something, since required, because I'm simply using an Azure function. So an Azure function requires a storage account. So what happens? Either one is assigned or it will be created when you publish your function to Azure. And HTTP trigger does not use this account. All trigger types, especially with HTTP trigger, that is not going to use that storage account, but rest of the triggers types that will require a valid Azure storage account connection string, right? Authorization level, it basically, gives you the authorization level details where, the created function that can be triggered by any client without providing a key. So this authorization setting makes it easy to test your new function. I am not going to choose function. I'll be simply choosing anonymous so that, anyone can basically, access that function endpoint, right? And I'm going to go to create. So this will create, and this will create a project and a class that contains the boilerplate, code for HTTP trigger function. Now, what I'm going to do here, I will, sorry for that. I will simply, rename my function. And what I'm going to do is I'll just simply rename this class, right? This class contains the basic function related details. Now, it's done. So let me, rename this class by something like HTTP example. Yes, and that is done. Now my HTTP example, I would like to, my class is renamed, this HTTP run function. I'm going to call it function name to HTTP example. What I did here, I have simply renamed the template, renamed the class, and the name of the function. So this is basically the name of the function now, and what it does is basically, it it just go ahead and it invokes a trigger, right? And then it simply log that particular information that the trigger has been processed, and it is basically uh, you know querying the name and just doing a simple stream reading and deserialization of the object and giving us a response that the execution was successful. If you would like to do something, this is more of a personalized response. So that is what it is doing. Now if I'll just go ahead and build it, I'll try to run this locally first, so that you can just see that how it is executed, and then we'll publish it in Azure, right? So I hope the build is successful. Yes, it is successful, and then we'll see how does it look. So it is basically start and storage emulator, and then when it is executed, it will give us a URL. So we simply have to copy the URL from the console, and we'll just try and execute it in the browser. Yes, we need to enable the firewall here, because we would want the tool to to be able to handle the HTTP request. So if I see, this is my URL, and let's just open a Chrome. So you see that this is a message which I have written here, that okay, my function is triggered successfully, pass a name. So this will give you the idea where how how you can execute your function locally. So if I since there is this another line where it is requesting us to pass a name, so we would like to display this thing as well. So let's just go ahead and pass a query string here, something like and it will give you another stuff. Hello Niloshima, this HTTP trigger function executed successfully, right? So this is something which I have simply created the function and tried execute it locally. Now if I just to stop this and go ahead, and now what we'll do, we'll simply publish it. Just go ahead here, click on publish, and they are simply asking where you are basically trying to publish it. I'll just say Azure. Next. I think people are asking something on chat. Guys, speaker code will be shared. So
Yeah, obviously after the session. So
after the
yeah.
session, I won't take a lot of time. I'll just take 5
and I will
minutes.
and I will also obviously give you all the details, because there is level 2 certificate. Nilosma is setting up 20 questions for this session. Obviously those are the paid portion of the event, but obviously that depends upon how you take it further, the document content, and if possible I will ask with Nilosma if C is able to share this sample code also. It depends
Yes, I
upon.
will.
Yeah, so those all things would be available there. Obviously, that's available at a very minimal price, because C has also to spend time, and then to run this community, we also have a cost associated with it. But obviously, that's a very minimal. You can, people from the US and UK or anywhere outside India can also claim it. There's a dollar and INR toggle. They can toggle it at the top. I'll demo you after the session. Just stay
Okay.
tuned.
So what we are going to do, we are simply going to publish it, right? So I'm saying, okay, let's use Azure Function app using Windows. We'll do next, and it is my Visual Studio is basically linked with my Microsoft Azure subscription. So that's what happened. It's in that. What I'm going to do is basically I will be creating a new Azure function here because I do not have any setting there, right? So let's use Pluralsight demo. Plan is consumption and deployed it somewhere in the US. Azure storage is something something. This is AZNS storage account. This is the name of my storage account, which is basically part of this resource group. So that's there. Let's click on create. What it is doing basically, it is creating a profile for you, your function profile, your app service profile, and it is simply, you are simply giving the name of the function, your subscription details, your resource group in which you are going to create your function app, and then this is your hosting plan, which gives you the, whether you are going for consumption based plan or pay as you go or premium plan, something like that. Location gives you the a region where your functions, or probably, you're choosing a location in a region near you or other services your function access, right? So that's how you decide for location. Azure storage is required by function runtime, so basically that is something which is a prerequisite for you to create. Once you are done with this thing, with these settings, this will take a couple of minutes, and this screen will be closed, and we'll simply publish here, and that deployment will happen, and I can show you in my Azure portal that how it looks, right? What did we do there? So that is there, and then we will be able to test it too, right? So you can see here that resource, my function resource has been created. I am going to click on finish, and this will be done. So this is basically, the site URL of my function app, and once I click on publish, it will publish. Okay, let me just open a new browser and try to show you in the portal. It will take some time, so that's there. Let's just see what's happening here. I think I've it is publishing, and we're gonna come here in Pluralsight demo, and you're going to see that this is my function, which is basically, so it is what happens in the background. It creates an app service plan for you first, and then your function is basically part of that app service plan. So this is how your functions look like, and you can see that this is it has all the feature functionality which we have selected there. We can restart the publish profile. We can get that publish profile for automation purposes. We can download the app content, and these grids will give you the idea. These matrices will give you the idea of what is the execution count, what is the memory working set, and how you are consuming the memory, right? So that is there. So the process is still happening, but yes, this is something which you can see that this is actually in progress, and things are running as expected, right? So having said that, I am done from my side. Will, in the meantime, if you'd like to download the certificates, I can give you the speaker code and we'll just see once it is done, right? Anjani, do you want me to share this? I mean, shall I share the speaker code?
Hello, sorry. So I was talking on mute. So best is that if you can click the link, I have pinged you the link, like ping the link to the guys in the chat window,
Okay.
and then it will take you to the
You're talking about
platform,
this link, right?
the platform to the dashboard.
Yes. So just go here. This is the link which
Yes,
Anjani is
that
mentioning,
that
and
one.
it's just
Yeah, if you can directly hit that, Nilosima, you can directly demo that also. You can click that link. Yes. So this link will take you to this platform. So just minimize that. That's a direct chat. You can connect with us. Obviously, we are live during the IST hours mostly. So this is one free certificate to download. Just have to click it. Once you're there, put your name, phone number, email. Try to use the email that you use for taking past certificates, because then what will happen? It will beautifully attach everything to your profile. So for a test, Nilosima, you can put your just a test ID or something. And then once you go into the next page, it will ask for a speaker code. And then put your email, any email, maybe test mail or something. And then move up. Next, put the speaker code. Just announce the speaker code. Yeah,
okay. So the speaker code is 39876.
it's all numeric, right?
39, yes, it's all number 39876.
39, 87, 6, right?
76, yes.
39,
39876.
87, 6. 39876. So once you submit, it will just submit, no issues, save. And once you go back to that platform, or just obviously you will have to log in, or you will get an email. In the email, you will get everything.
So I've
Uh,
used the test, email,
so
so I won't get any email, but you have to use your real emails. And
real email, so that you'll get that email. And then can you go up, Nilosima? So there are, you can see there is there are one quiz to download. That's the 10-20 set quiz that Nilosima will be updating by tomorrow sometime. There is a
yes.
file which is the PPT which is here, and there is one source code that she has said that she will be giving up, and that all is there. With just you have to pay INR 99, which is less than 100, and you can also do a dollar toggle if you are. Can you scroll up, Nilosima? If you're in US, you can do a dollar toggle and then just scroll up a little more. Yes, here is the dollar toggle at the top. So if you toggle it out, for if you are outside India, you can pay it through the USD. And there is a PayPal and Razor Pay. For India, it's Razor Pay. Then for US, it's PayPal. And all you have to just so speaker code, right? Nilosima, you can repeat again.
So the speaker code is basically 39876.
39876. Irado.
Shall I
39876. Yeah, you can ping also.
paste? Yeah, shall I paste it here?
Yeah.
39876.
Yes. So yeah, that's all. And there are multiple courses coming up. So stay tuned. Nilosima is also coming up with a full detailed course on serverless with all the practice set, papers and everything. And we'll have level 1, level 2 and level 3 certificate at the end of the course. Level 2 at every after every session, and level 1 obviously it's always there. So just have to put the speaker code. Level 2 is with the exam. So like once you give this quiz, which is here, it will be like we'll be giving you sending you the level 2 test. Once you pass it, at least with the 65% mark, and we'll send it to your email, and it will also get attached here. So obviously level 1 will replace with label 2. So you just have to keep the ID safe, whatever the ID that you get with the certificate ID, so that you do not miss it. Because as soon as you upgrade your level, the certificate will also upgrade. So the past certificate, you just have to keep it safe. You just have to keep the URLs always there on our blockchain platform. Just have to keep the URL safe. Or you can ask us anytime for your past certificate. We are coming up with all the certificate listing where for the single session, you can see your level 1, level 2, and level 3 certificate. We are also coming up with, like Nirosma, you can scroll down. So there is go up here. So global dashboard is there. Scroll down a little. The global dashboard is, if you just click the global dashboard when you are logged in, at this point of time it will show nothing. So, but once you click the global dashboard, you will be able to see all your past events. Obviously, we are bringing up the data from different system which we have, because we are mostly distributed to the same platform. But obviously you'll see lot many sessions that you have done in the past, and for that you are not able to see. It will be live within 10-15 days or maximum 1 month. And also you can see all the speakers event. Can you go down, Nilosima? Scroll down. So if you just click the name of the speaker, Nilosima, if you just click your name, yes. So you will be able to see the speaker profile, message from a speaker, and then you will scroll down. If you scroll down, you'll be able to see all the sessions. So obviously, last session of Nilosima is not there, but we are trying to consolidate all the data into the system. It will be live within 10-15 days. So all the sessions that a speaker gives, or if you love one of the specific speaker, their talks, you can directly subscribe to those sessions.
So having said that, guys, thank you so much for joining and thank you so much for the feedbacks. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or Anjani.
Yeah.
We
Now
will
you have
definitely, we will have to help you.
Yeah. And there is a Telegram channel, obviously. Let me ping you the link. You can connect to that Telegram channel, which is the best way to connect with us and keep connected with us. So this is our Telegram channel. Many of you are already connected, but you can also. Thank you, everybody. And the recording and everything will be there on this event page and also on the YouTube and different channels.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, good morning. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.